Now, in an interview in this morning's Irish Times, the Sinn Féin leader, Mary Lou McDonald, has said that she wants to form a coalition government after the next election with either Fine Gael or Fianna Fail, but that she has no preference between the two rivals. And joining us with that story and others making news this morning are KFM Shane Beatty and the Director of the Irish Academy for Public Relations, Ellen Gunning. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Two stories this morning, Ellen, both of which can be, in their own way, construed as opening salvos in the next general election campaign, which everybody reckons should happen maybe February, March, possibly end of January, but more likely February, March of next year.
Post-budget early next year.
Yeah. And we'll get to the second one in a moment. But Mary Lou's interview this morning is quite wide-ranging and very interesting. Essentially, she expects to be in government with either Fianna Fail or Fine Gael, and it doesn't seem like she's too bothered about which one.
It's a very interesting one because Sinn Féin are used to being in government in the north now, and they're obviously moving to say, is there any reason why we shouldn't be in government in the south? No. Their numbers have been increasing. They expect to be the power brokers in the next government, which is interesting. And as you say, she hasn't chosen between the two. She doesn't mind. She wants to be in government. She's making that very clear. I think the two parties, Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, have a very interesting quandary ahead of them. They want to be in government, obviously, both. Fianna Fail will say there's no way they're going into government with Sinn Féin. They couldn't possibly do it. But then Fianna Fail, under Charlie Haughey, said they would never, ever go into government with the
core
PDs.
value, yeah.
Core value. And as soon as it became obvious that the PDs were the power brokers, they decided, well, actually, we could go into coalition with them after all. I would think Fianna Fail would find it harder to go into coalition with Sinn Féin because they're from the same side of the Republican family. If you look at Fine Gael, though, they're the party of law and order. They're the party who really feel there's a greater antagonism, I think, towards Sinn Féin in Fine Gael. I'm not sure that their own members could live with the idea of being in. I think there's more of an ogre factor to Sinn Féin in Fine Gael that isn't necessarily connected with reality, but they are the ogre to Fine Gael, so I'm not sure they'd go in with them. It's really interesting because the only option, if they are the power brokers next time, is to have a coalition which is made up of all sorts of independents, which is not really very stable.
No, it is very interesting, Shane. We can get to the other bits of it in a moment, right? But the kind of certainty with which Mary Lou McDonald is speaking, which is that she's essentially saying, listen, lads, there is no way around us next time out. And while she's speaking to them, she's also speaking to the wider public, the electorate, and saying, listen, these guys need to stop holding their nose where Sinn Féin is concerned.
Yeah, well, she's got the calculator out and she's done the numbers, essentially, and she's looked at this. And I think that's probably why, I mean, obviously she'd have very strong views on the referendum we just had and their dearly held views.
And didn't she make a good tag team with Micheál
Exactly,
Martin?
this is what I was going to say, I'm wondering, was this a sort of introduction of Mary Lou as leader to the country by the way she worked during that referendum? Now, they talk about cozying up to Fianna Fail. She certainly did very well on The Tonight Show with Micheál Martin. But then there's talk that she was cozying up as well with Fine Gael over the Judicial Appointments Bill and with Charlie Flanagan and all of that. So it's a difficult one to kind of work out here. But she has got the calculator out. It is a numbers game. And I think the other interesting thing is that the parties, as you say now, are going to have to decide for once and for all what they're going to do, because Charlie Flanagan, as recently I think as last weekend, was saying we could never go into government with Sinn Féin because of the past and because of their economic policies. Now, you can't keep saying that and then turn around to the electorate and say, yes, we will go into government with them. The one thing you'd wonder about, is she worried in any way about being junior partner and being in some way wiped out? Because there's a terrible history in this country, of course, of being a junior partner in coalition. You look at Labour, you look at the PDs, this tends to happen, but the core Sinn Féin is a lot bigger than those parties, of course.
And that was Fianna Fail back then, Fianna Fail back now. If it was to be a Fianna Fail, I think Fianna Fail are more worried about being eaten from the inside by Sinn Féin than Sinn Féin would be about Fianna Fail. Fine Gael's attitude, and possibly of the two big parties, they're holding their nose more so than Fianna Fail where Sinn Féin are concerned. Okay. But when you look at all the gains and look at the way the economy is going, the momentum, and it is effectively Leo's game. He's running the table at the moment. He'll decide, and the chances are they'll come back with the biggest number. Not enough for an overall. I don't think we'll ever see that again. So their problem with Sinn Féin's past, are they going to give up everything that they've done? The marriage equality referendum, repealing the 8th, and all that comes with that. They're young, they're trusting, they're vibrant. The economy is going the right way. I think they might feel if they got Sinn Féin into government that Sinn Féin would turn out to be very pragmatic. They'd say, listen, lads, here are the books. This is the reality of it. You know, your economic programme ain't going to work unless you want to scupper what we have. And that it could actually be workable, that they could get over Sinn Féin's past, because none of the current Sinn Féin party in the Oireachtas have any paramilitary background.
I think the really interesting thing is that point about none has a paramilitary background. I think the difference in leader, I think it would have been much more difficult for Fine Gael to go into coalition under Gerry Adams than it would with Mary Lou McDonald. I still think they will have a difficulty. Fine Gael or Sinn Féin are very pragmatic. By nature, they're very pragmatic. So we've seen what they did in the North. They went in with one set of policies, looked at the figures, as you say, and said, OK, this can't be done.
And made very tough decisions when they were in there.
And actually played an equal part in government. They took it on board and they did well with it. So there's no reason why they couldn't actually do well in the next election. I'm actually wondering about what Shane was saying and thinking that if Fine Gael continue to do quite well, maybe it's not the numbers game in the way that it used to be, that it was one big party and one small party like Fine Gael and Labour. Maybe Fine Gael, if they are the young, trusting, vibrant party, will actually come back with enough to just need a few independents. That's another game changer.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could go back to those days. I'm not sure. What we're not talking here about is the Sinn Féin core vote as well, though. How would they feel? Just, I mean, seeing some of the Sinn Féin supporters that I would see on social media who are very, very supportive of Mary Lou McDonald, they absolutely cannot stand the policies of Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, and I'm wondering how they would feel with their party going into government.
I think they'd be prepared to hold their nose if they thought they were getting into government.
Well, yeah. Well, what did they say? What was the old Mary Harney line about power and all of that?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, I did say there was another story which indicates that the opening salvos of the next general election have already been fired or being fired, which is the leaked document from Fine Gael about the tensions going on between Fine Gael and Fianna Fail. And it would seem that Fine Gael's strategy will be that you still cannot trust after everything that's happened 10 years on. Fianna Fail haven't learned their lesson. They're promising, Johnny Fortycoats and everybody in the street anything they want in the vain hope of trying to get back into power again. And essentially, the bottom line would be you cannot trust them with the economy.
Yes, apparently every other journalist in the country has seen this leaked document, but I haven't. It's a very dodgy leak because a lot of people have seen it. But apparently, Fine Gael have set up an internal working group which is trying to get at Fianna Fail in every which way they can. They have a document compiled where they're looking at all of the promises that Fianna Fail have made, the spending promises, and basically they're saying that Michael McGrath, this is the allegation of Fine Gael, Michael McGrath of Fianna Fail has promised everybody everything, and they are just saying that they can't be trusted with the economy, and this is what the leaked document is. So just like Mary Lou McDonald is out on the front page of the Irish Times today, getting ready for an election. This is Fine Gael getting ready for an election. And they have an internal working group, and the report is leaked to a number of the newspapers, and now we hear Fianna Fail can't be trusted.
OK, and they're off. Let's move to story number 3 this morning. There is a huge gathering of women under the banner of Dublin Honours Magdalenes taking place in Dublin today and tomorrow. Women from around the country have gathered and they're going to join hundreds of fellow Magdalene survivors for events to honour their former residents. Survivors and their companions will attend a garden party. Indeed, they're going to be hosted by the President and his wife, and they're later going to attend the Mansion House for a gala dinner. And we see over the weekend that Charlie Flanagan has said that the redress scheme will be extended to 14 additional institutions. Well, long overdue, should have been done in the first place. And I'm just wondering, is this too little too late, Ellen, or has the government been embarrassed into doing this, considering that they're going to have a couple of hundred of these women? I was struck by the fact that it's between 200 and 400 women, depending on who you read, and that these women are coming from all over the world, not in huge numbers, but they are coming from worldwide, to come back and not celebrate, commemorate, remember the way that the state actually treated them. I was struck by the fact that these women were referred to in one of the articles I read as fallen women, and I thought, oh my God, that brought me right back to my childhood, when women who were pregnant were referred to as fallen women and were sent to homes where, we have to remember, they were looked after by women who treated them very badly, and the state paid these homes really to keep them out of the way. I'm delighted that President Higgins has them all up at the Áras. I think it's only right. Yes, they should have a dinner. I think there should be something. The redress scheme, yes, you'll never compensate somebody for what they went through, but the redress scheme should be extended. But I think we need something
that is actually a commemoration that reminds people in the future that this should never happen again. I don't know what that should be, but while they have all these Magdalens who are all in their 80s together, it may be the only chance to ask them what do they feel is a fitting memorial.
Yeah, just on the point of them being in their 80s, whatever happens and whatever they're doing, they need to do it as soon as possible, because tragically we've heard that some of these women have been waiting their whole lives and have passed away without getting the apology which they did get, without getting redress. So we need to get our skates on here. We don't have time to spend 2 years talking about what we're going to do.
Well, 6 months ago, the Ombudsman Peter Tyndall issued a scathing report on the scheme, so it only took them 6 months to actually go, oh, yeah, maybe we should do something about that.
True.
They're getting quicker. Plenty more to come on the programme. We'll be back after this break.